Yeah, Joe, this is Alan Adrian, alias.
Yes, how are you?
Pretty good.
What's happening?
I heard you were pretty well involved in some film production, according to John Beatty.
Well, I was, but it was canceled because they didn't come up with any money for me.
I see.
Yeah, can you hang on just a second?
Yeah.
Just a minute. Anyway, I was supposed to be doing a film, and they started off on May 7th with a contract, and they were supposed to come up with $4,000, and they didn't. And 118 days later, on the $12,000 contract, they had only given me $4,200. So it did an El Foldo. And so now they're talking, they call me, I don't know, October, November, September. They called me near the end of August and wanted me to go to work for them, and I had just started writing a script, and that folded last week because the girl that we were going to use, that we were going to start the film November 1st. I mean, I wasn't, but the people I was writing for. But then she went and signed a contract with a dance troupe in Las Vegas, and she's going to be gone for 8 weeks. And so that canceled her out of the picture, and they want her in the film, so they're going to do it in the spring.
I see.
So.
Yeah. You know, I met Joe Gage not too long ago at a party for the opening of his new company, American Film Distributors.
I would like to work for him, I think. He's one of the few people that make decent films.
Yeah.
Are you going to do something for him?
Well, in fact, I did get a part, but it was 100% gay, so I turned it down.
Oh, well, he does mostly gay films.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But not completely. You know what I'm trying to do right now? Do you have many contacts in people who market video cassettes or people who distribute films like Cal Vista?
Well, these guys that I was supposed to make a film for, Marathon, they take all their 16mm feature films and then they put them into video cassettes, and they're called Marathons. They're the ones that did that film called, well, they're mostly gay, but it's called Born to Raise Hell, which is an S&M thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got Rear Admiral and I don't know, all kinds of films, but they're into distribution. But I don't know any company that's doing it. Well, I do in a way, indirectly. I don't know the people personally, but I might be able to get some information for you.
Good. I'll tell you why. I'm at a stage where I'm reaching a breaking point with my present 9-to-5 job, and I have a 2-week leave of absence right now. And what I had been thinking of dwelling on for some time was a possibility of some kind of 9-to-5 Monday through Friday job at either a film distribution company or a company marketing video cassettes.
Mm-hmm. And
it would serve two purposes. Solve my location problem, which has just gotten ridiculous now after a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And also, maybe it would be nice if it could be something which would be compatible with my extra career, acting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But what I need is, I got some contacts, some good contacts. It's really a help. If I'm sending a letter, it's really a help just to be able to say, I got your name from so-and-so, a mutual acquaintance.
But they'll be very suspicious of that. It's because if they're selling the stuff that's X-rated material, they're going to be very, very suspicious of anybody that says, we got your name, especially if it's one of the owners or one of the actual people involved. It's easier to go and make a personal contact with them so they can see you.
Just better to just drop in, you mean?
Yeah, because, for instance, a friend of mine...
What if they're not there?
Well, you can always find out when they're there. But, for instance, this guy that I know, he does... He takes stills for this company that makes video films. He's on the set because they take the pictures and they use some of his pictures for covers on boxes that they send them out in. But also, they also get enough stills and they'll put a magazine out at the same time, which gives them extra publicity. Now, I have never been able to find out who the company is that does it, even though they want me to come and be a cameraman on it. And he just says, just go, and I'll give you the cash when we finish shooting. And I said, but where does it go? I want to see the material, and they won't tell me.
I see.
But they do say that they go into video cassette. So the only way I would know is when I saw it advertised someplace or recognize it as something that I had shot. But I've never worked for them yet because I don't want to do it until I have some idea of where and what the hell they're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marathon does all gay stuff, and their deal with me was that I was to make a film for a flat fee, and whatever the film cost, I did it out of the flat fee, and what was left over was my end of it. So if the film would cost $8,300 or $8,400, then my profit was the difference between that and $12,000. But since they didn't come up with the money on schedule, and they dribbled it to me in bits and pieces, I just spent it because they were preventing me from working, because their agreement was that every 2 weeks they were going to come up with $1,000, $2,000, and they didn't. So by the time they got back to me, there was no money left, and so then they said, we got to have a film, and I said, well, that's your problem, sweetheart. And I said, if and when you come up with a flat fee in one bundle, I'll make a film for you. But I cannot go and get involved with getting the labs to hound me and waiting for you to pay me.
Mm-hmm.
So now they've made a film. I'm supposed to see it on 2 weeks, I think, with somebody else. Supposedly they produced in 6 or 7 days for 89 cents. So I'm just waiting for that to show up.
Well, so you think
I think if you do have any contacts, if you have any specific addresses or names of people,
mm-hmm.
then and where are they? Out here or back there?
Both.
Oh, well, I would just go and talk to them and just
drop into their office in business hours, you mean?
Sure.
Yeah, that's probably true. I guess I'm not used to doing that, because in the straight business world that I'm associated with, you just don't do that. That would never go over.
Well, you're going to have to add limits then, because
well, that's no problem. I can adjust to doing it differently.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true, like, I don't like sending out these letters to some people because I don't know who the hell I'm sending them to.
That's exactly, and then they won't know who the hell you are, because they might think it's somebody setting them up for something.
Right.
So what they do is it's eye-to-eye contact. And if they think that you're legit, then they're going to say, okay, fine, we'll talk to you. If they don't think so, they'll make some excuse and they'll play around.
Right.
Now, if you can go to some place, like in New York, and Gage just said something to you, you can use his name, where they can call him up and say, hey, did you send this bum over here? They're going to talk to you.
Yeah.
But if you wrote a letter and said Joe Gage, they don't know who it is, and they're not about to write a letter or call him on the phone unless you're there in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're cagey. It's still not exactly selling seized candy. So they'll want to keep everything as.
In fact, I did call Joe Gage himself, though, but he had already met me at the party, so that was different.
Well,
But he said for me to send him a resume in the mail, which I did.
Well, that's a different story. He already knows who you are at that point.
Yeah. And
the same thing is, if I went back there and walked into his office, I'm sure he would know my name.
Right.
So that wouldn't be any problem. If I went back and said, hey, I want to make some films for you, do you want to finance them? He'd talk to me, because he certainly knows this and that and the other thing. But the thing that's bad, the guys that I was introduced to out here on this film thing was done through some friends of mine who didn't know them too well, and then they started telling me, oh, well, everybody said, oh, they pay good money and all that stuff, and you should make a film for them. So I said, okay. But then we signed the contract, and the day that we signed, we negotiated the contract for about 2 weeks. And the deal was that on the day that we signed the contract, they were supposed to have a certified check for me for $4,000. And so I signed the contract in their office, and they signed it. They gave me a copy, and I said, okay, where's the check? And they said, oh, it won't be here until tomorrow. And this was on a Thursday. So tomorrow I went back there. I went back there on Friday. And he gave me something. He said, well, it was supposed to come from New York, and he said it's coming by express mail. So the next day, which was Saturday morning, I drove over there. The didn't come. And on Tuesday afternoon, a box came, express mail, from somebody in New York, and it had nothing to do with anything that concerned me. I didn't get any money from them for about 2 weeks, which meant that the contract was negated on the day that I signed it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I talked to some other friends of mine who are in the business. They said, well, don't start shooting until you get all the money.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, fine. So then they kept saying, now, what are you doing? I said, well, here's the script, and I've got the cast all set to go. And I said, I'm not going to shoot until you get the money. He said, okay, we'll have the money for you at 2 o'clock tomorrow. And then they said, you might as well just go ahead and make the arrangements to shoot. So twice I did that. I was going to shoot up at a ranch, and so I called up my friend at the ranch, and he got food in for the crew and the cast, and knocked out some reservations for some other guests, and they didn't give me the money. So I canceled. So by that time, the cast began to split, and I kept telling her, I said, you sons of bitches, I said, if you don't give me the money, you're not going to get a film. So after, it was 118 days from May 7th until around the end of August before they finally said, well, we've got to have a film. And I said, well, you can't have a film because there's no money. And they said, well, we don't care where you take the money off the front end or the back end of the deal. I said, but you haven't given me any money to make the film with yet. So as a result of that, they think that I'm going to start making a film for them when they give me $7,800.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to do it. They're going to have to give me the flat $12,000 in one batch. If they give it to me in 6,000 or 2,000, I'm not going to make the film until I have it all in the bank. Because there is no way in the world that I can go and go to a lab and say, oh, well, the producer is going to pay me, and then I'll pay you. They don't do it anymore. In fact, a friend of mine who's a legitimate filmmaker had to guarantee somebody else's film for $10,000 to get the negative out of the goddamn, or get a print out off the negative so they could go to Hong Kong and dub it. The dubbing cost now used to be $300 a day. It's now over $1,000 a day here in Hollywood to dub a film, and that's with just one mix.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they go all the way to Hong Kong to do it, huh?
About 200.
So they go all the way to Hong Kong to do it now?
Yeah, because you can do it in Hong Kong for $300, and you have 12 mixers if you want, which means you can have music and sound effects and dialogue tracks all dubbed at the same time, because they've got the equipment that is, like 32-track mixers. So they put a man on every track, an individual to do it, and all you do is tell him that at such a number, put the knob up and pull it down, and they'll do it. So the business has changed totally. I mean, it's just such a deal that you just can't believe it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's legitimate, 35 millimeter stuff. And 16 millimeter, you can still get it done reasonably well done, because I made several deals. I got film work print made, got it for 19 cents a foot. It used to be 13 cents a foot. Now it's 19. Other places want 22 to 24 cents a foot for processing in a work print. So it does take there's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of my idea of?
Well, what occurred to me is if you went to work for one of these companies, you'd learn how it operates, and then eventually you could just go into it yourself.
I mean, do you think there is such a thing as a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday position at a distribution company or a video marketing?
Probably, certainly. There's probably a lot of them. A lot of legit. Well, there's a lot of guys. I mean, go look in the ads where they're selling videotapes, and like Universal Sound, Universal Stereo sells videotape. They probably need guys who know tape and can sell it over the counter and then into distribution by mail order.
That's a retail?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the people who actually market to the retailers.
I know that, but I don't know who they are yet. And you're
Right.
just going to have to
Well, I know
by going through the front door and going into the back door of it.
Sure, I know some of them. For example, I got a contact at Video Shack, Arthur Morowitz, and I've got some, and I've got plenty of addresses, and I've got.
Well, I think you're just going to have to
to do footwork.
Go visit them and find out if they're interested in you in that sense.
That's fine. I even prefer that approach because, see, my experience with the straight business world is if I would call someone up over the phone about an interview or something like that, they would always say, well, send your resume. But that's different. It's a different environment.
Sure.
And I would actually prefer just going in there without having contacted them before and then letting them see me on the spot. I prefer that because of the time limitation I have right now. I have to do as much as possible in 2 weeks.
Right. You could fly around and do what you want to do that way. So I think that you're going to have to try it one way or the other and see, where it comes out.
So I'm going to be doing that here in New York, and I'm not sure yet what my schedule will be like. I wanted to spend 1 week in New York and 1 week in California, but what has happened already is I've got some things to do in New York scattered throughout the whole 2 weeks. I mean, some things this week, and then an important party next week for a photographer named Charles Gatewood.
Don't know him.
Yeah, it's going supposedly a porn elite will be there, publishers, editors from Penthouse and stuff like that, and Puritan. So I want to go to that, and that's on the 14th, and then there's something else. So I don't know exactly how I'll work out my schedule yet, whether I'll be able to divide it between New York and California.
Well, I think there's more stuff going in New York than there is here. I think some of the stuff probably is distributed from here, but I think that your biggest thing is going to be in New York.
In terms of video cassettes?
Yeah.
Or film distribution? Or?
Well, not film, but video.
Uh-huh.
I don't know enough about it. I've never gotten involved in it. I know a little bit about the editing of it now. I know some of the machinery. I know some of the ways that they're using video to shoot stuff with, but I don't know anything about how it's put together or anything other than looking at the ads in various magazines and assuming that somebody's got to assemble all that stuff to put it together.
I know nothing about it. I don't even really know the difference between Beta and VHS.
Well, one's 3/4 inch and the other is 1 inch in size, and then it's also the technical problems with the way the heads record and all that kind of stuff in the playback. So that's something you don't have to worry about. You're more concerned about the actual hardware and the software, the stuff that goes into the cassette.
Exactly.
From one place to another.
Right, exactly. That is.
Basically, don't worry about it. You'll learn soon enough what the difference between one and the other, because it says VHF or Betamax on it. But the point is that maybe Gage could help you. Because I'm sure that he's going to be going into distribution.
Well, he says he has an exclusive contract as far as video cassettes are concerned with a company in California, the same one that does Swedish erotica.
Well,
same people.
Maybe then you'll have to come out and talk to them then. I don't know anything about it. All I know is that Swedish erotica doesn't pay very well for their layouts. They're paying $600 where everybody else pays $1,000 or $1,200.
For layouts?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean layouts?
Photo layouts.
Photo layouts.
Yeah, it's a very large company, and
for their publications, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how deeply they were into publishing, but
I think they do that because
you're talking about what they pay photographers?
No, in other words, if a photographer has done a layout with a boy and a girl,
right,
and he takes it over to them, they pay $600 for everything.
Oh yeah,
including the models and the photography and the material. Where another company that I know pays $1,200 for exactly the same thing.
I see. Right.
What they've got so many people working for them, they don't care.
I also have that kind of dichotomy to deal with in that these are many of them are the same people that I would conceivably approach as an actor, which is fine.
Could be.
And now I'm approaching them from a different perspective, and so there's a little bit of a, I don't know in what cases to go ahead and tell them this dual role that I play, or
let them ask you if you want to do it.
Yeah. In other words,
go in strictly on the business end of it, and then if they're interested, if they think that you might have some, you can hint at it, or you can let them hint at it, and then pick up on it. But don't go in dual. Just go in on one side of the fence or the other.
Yeah, because it'll be hard. They have to categorize me somewhere.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is, separately from approaching them about this, I'm also, trying to get more acting work at the same time. So approaching other people.
That's separate. That's a separate entity from this. and you can't do both at the same time. In other words, you're going to have to find the people who are in distribution, or you're going to have to find the people who are in production,
right,
that want to use you.
Generally, I guess it is different people who would be involved.
I would think so. I don't think there's nobody can do all of it at the same time.
Yeah, there's some exceptions though, like Bobby Sumner. I know was a movie producer, and now he's president of a video cassette company.
Yeah, but then he's probably not doing any production anymore, except unless he hires somebody else to produce for him.
Right.
And then that producer is not going to take the people that Bobby's going to send to him. They're going to find their own people. So you're going to have to make a contact with that producer.
Yeah.
All individual things, and you can't do it by just, it just has to be done.
Yeah.
By individual contacts, and then you say, oh, well, I was in such and such a picture, I did this bit or that one, and then if they know what's going on, they'll recognize you.
Uh-huh.
And or they find out that you've got a great big long cock and you can get it hard on cue, then they'll say, okay, we'll use you.
Right.
But it's a difficult situation because you can't go in there say, oh, I can do this and this and this, because they're not going to believe any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So do one thing at a time, and make in other words, make up your mind which area you want to go into, and then concentrate on it. Because if you flip from one thing to the other, just about the time you start making contacts and somebody calls you, you're not there, and then they're going to say, oh, well, he's a flake and he's gone.
I don't know what you mean.
In other words, if you start making a lot of contacts about being an actor, and then you get tired of it because you're not acting, and then you start doing something in distribution, by the time you get all the contacts that you can get to the producers who might hire you, because they're not producing something every day. You follow?
Of course.
Okay. Now, by the time they get around to doing a production, they think, let's see, what happened to that guy? Oh, Alan, let's see, let's call him up. And they call you, and there's no answer. They might try a second time, and you're gone.
No, it doesn't work that way. I mean, on an ongoing basis, I've been dealing with maintaining relationships, or however you want to word it, with producers, people of potential of hiring me as an actor.
Well, have they done it?
Yeah. Well, I hadn't been able to do it to the degree that I wanted to because of the fact that I was in Washington. I couldn't go to screenings and keep on top of things. But I mean, there's still a daytime life and a nighttime and weekend life. Mm-hmm. And in other words, I still believe that I can maintain both worlds, except for the time conflict in an acting job conflicting with the...
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at, is either you're going to have to choose one or the other, because one is conflicting with it, and each time it conflicts, they just put a no-no on it for the next time they want to use you. They may, eventually they'll quit calling because they're going to say, oh, well, you can't use him in the daytime anyway. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they don't shoot just on weekends or at night.
No, of course.
And so that's what I'm saying. You're either going to have to make up your mind to concentrate all the way on one or the other. You can't. I think it's just too difficult. I found that out a long time ago. I'm very talented as a film editor and also as a still photographer and a cinema photographer. But because I was doing still work and everybody got to know me as still work, they quit calling me for cinema, even though I can do better cinema work than I can do still work. So now, my point, the thing that I'm concerned about is whether I want to get back into motion picture production over above the still work, or do I want to chuck all of it and just stay with screenwriting? So far, I've been able to do the screenwriting early in the morning around the shooting, and I've sold a script, but it won't go into production until in my mind what I want to do, whether I want to continue to write another screenplay on spec or wait until he gets back and see what he's going to do with my other screenplay. I know that I can write a screenplay. I know that I can do good movies. I know that I'm a good film editor. I don't like film editing. I've done everything that I want to do in the film editing field. I also am one of the few people who also can negative cut, and I don't like it. So I just don't do it anymore. I don't take jobs unless it's absolutely necessary for me to do it. But the thing that you have to do is sort of decide what you want to do for a while as a means to an end to gain the final destination, your final thing of being an actor or being a distributor or being a producer or being a director or whatever it is.
So you don't think it's possible to do both? Or
I think it's possible, but I think that you're getting you're placing obstacles against yourself by not having a job where you can take off and do the acting in the middle of the week when they want you.
Okay, well,
I mean, I see a lot of guys out here who are.
Do you think it's possible to find such a job?
A lot of guys do that. They become waiters and they work at night so they can work in the daytime. Or
okay. They're true dedicated actors or artists or whatever the case might be.
That's the point. But they're doing the waiter job is only to pay, is a means to an end to pay their bills while they're waiting for their quote unquote big chance.
Well, I know I would not likely get this kind of privilege, but there's exceptions to this rule, like people like Gloria Leonard, who's publisher of High Society, and then she also acts in films herself. Yeah, but she as a publisher, she can take the time off whenever she wants to. Right.
And she's got other people, editors and art directors who can do the work that she does when she's not there. That's fine, but you're not in that position. It depends on what degree, though, too. I mean, let's say basically I'm 75% or 85% into the 9-to-5 job, and I'm principally dedicated to that, but I just do small parts here and there, and... But the small parts are the ones that get you the bigger parts if you're available. But if you're not available because you're working 75% of the time 9 to 5, then you've only got a very small chance on the weekends or at night to do the 70 or the 25%. Or vacations or sick days or whatever. Yeah. So unless you can take off, in other words, if you have a job that you're working 9 to 5, fine, and you also are acting, and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I need you on Thursday and Friday all day," and you say, "Okay, I can come and do it." Then you're doing both things. You're working your 9 to 5 job, except you're in a position where you can take off to do this job. And if the acting makes you more money, then you can take off from the 9 to 5 job and be an actor. Mm-hmm. But if you're in distribution, then you have to get a position where you can handle all the mail ordering or whatever the hell, handle the mail orders and stuff at oddball hours. And your boss is going to say, "Oh, you got an acting job? Okay, fine, go do it." But there are very few people like that. And as you say, there are some exceptions to that rule, so you have to seek them out. Basically, that's what I'm seeking. Well, I'm trying to find some... I'm telling you, Alan, you have to go ahead and say, you can't do it all at one time, and you have to go and try it. You have to keep interviewing and finding out those places. I can't tell you where to go for those. Sure. I agree with you that it's an ideal situation until you find out which way you want to go. I mean, I know one person who is in post-production at a post-production studio, and then whenever he gets a job as a sound man on a film, an X-rated film, he can take off, but he may work harder on his post-production at the studio during the night or something like that. But that's true. Lots of people do that. That's what I'm trying to tell you to do, that you have to have a job where the work, it doesn't make any difference whether you do it as day or night, that you can go ahead and do it, because lots of actors work that way. Okay, yeah, it's just I don't want to resort to being a waiter or a bartender. That's all. Better than something like that. You see, I'm not saying that's going to be your career. They do it as a means to an end. So you have to compensate somewhere. You can't do it. You can do it your way if you want to wait long enough. But I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know too many people ever done it that way. So, right. I understand what you're trying to do, and I tried to do it that way too, but it didn't work too well for me. Okay, well, do you recommend my going full-time into acting? I can't tell you because I don't know how much there's not that. I don't know. There's not enough work here in New York. Porno business, I don't know that there's not that much activity. Jack Wrangler, who's certainly got a reputation as being a big porno star, is having a hell of a time getting jobs. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Gillis, who also won the Erotic Film Festival Award, doesn't work every day.
Of course not.
And they're not even, none of those people ever put anybody under contract. So it's a hit or miss thing. So the best thing to do is get into distribution where you find out how the stuff works, and then eventually maybe you can make your own films and star yourself in them and distribute them yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that...
But that is something you have to do over a long period of time. You can't do it in 3 weeks.
No, of course not. But it is quite a dilemma. I mean, but it's amazing that I've done as much as I have with a full-time job in D.C. And
that's true. But the point,
but that's why I'm at this stage right now, where the thing is going to break.
You also have to figure out how much.
Whoops!
Hang on a minute.
Is that yours?
Yes.
Okay. This is a long-distance call.
Yeah. Hang on. Hi. I've been getting a bunch of. I've got a bunch of interviews this afternoon, and people have begun to call me about it.
I see.
Because I'm trying to get some more still work done because of these people fucking me up on the film, and then also having the screenplay pulled. The director is mad because we were supposed to have meetings, the rest of this week on it. So now we're both trying to, scrounge up some new work. But what I'm saying is that you can do it, Alan, but what you have to figure out is which is giving you the most money to live on. If you get more money acting, then I'd certainly cut down on the 9-to-5 job. If you're not acting as much, making enough on the acting thing, then you're going to have to continue on the 9-to-5 basis until you get a reputation where they're going to hire you all the time. So,
that's the approach that I wanted to take, that latter approach. Yeah, and the only thing is, I got to move my 9-to-5 job to here, out of D.C. to New York.
Well, that's something that I have no, you have the control of. You know what you can do in that area. Exactly what you're doing on the computer thing or whatever that is. So you have to, find first. Maybe you can find a guy that you can work in late in the afternoons and do these things in the morning and go to work at, like on a swing shift or something. That might be you have to try it all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So stay in touch. When do you think you're coming out here?
I don't know. It just it's totally depends on whether there's something worthwhile for me to come out for.
How often do you see John Beatty?
I haven't seen him for a while.
Uh-huh.
I just talked to him on the phone recently.
Yeah.
Well, is there any companies that you think you could give to me, or that might be worthwhile?
Well, the only one that I know out here, I wouldn't want to give you their names simply because they're flakes. They're the ones that are supposed to be financing my film. They're into distribution too, and they've got two dingy people working in their office who do their mail order business, and they're always fucking up on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be very welcome to introduce you to them. That I would do that, but I would warn you in the very beginning not to trust them as far as you could throw a Chrysler automobile.
Okay, well then we'll forget that for now.
Yeah. And because I don't even know what the hell they're going to do. I'm supposed to go see one of their films that they made in substitution of the one that I didn't make for them. So that they say they did it in 6 days. Well, I want to see it. Because if they can do it in 6 days, then I can make them for $3,000 then. But I don't know. I don't know what their criteria is for quote unquote a good film. So now I have to go find out.
The other thing is, I just wanted to ask you about the $75 you owe me.
Oh, you'll get that soon. I'm just about ready to. I'm just getting to the point where I'm getting back. If you talk to John, you'll find out that when he was here, even though I was supposedly working, I still hadn't gotten any money out of it. That's the other thing that's throwing me is the fact that I cannot get ahead on any of this horse shit.
Right.
So I got a list of things I have to pay, and you're on that list. So you'll get it. Just even if I have to send you $35 twice.
Okay. Send it to New York.
I will.
Because I've had 1,000 different addresses in D.C. So send it to New York.
Well, then hang loose and keep in touch.
Great.
Okay.
Good.
Nice talking to you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.